great pleasure of welcoming Archbishop Mancini for some opening remarks and to open us in prayer. So please put your hands together for our bishop.
Thank you very much. How you doing? It's good to see all of you here on a Friday night. Not too many people your age on a Friday night come out to listen to a bishop. But here you are, and I'm glad that you have gathered for this opening first phase of our Steubenville Atlantic gathering that we are working to make bigger and better and newer, and we're going to have it in a new environment. And you guys who are here tonight are going to be the key people in making this experience grow to include your friends and your neighbors and your family. And I'm hoping that all of you will do your part to make this particular edition of the Steubenville gathering our best yet. Are you guys with me on this? So I thank you very much for your support and for your commitment. When I was asked by John Stevens if I would say a few opening remarks, that part didn't surprise me. I've done this now for the last few years. But then he gave me this little piece of paper and this weird sign that says, God is. And he says, that's the theme. And I thought to myself, what, are you crazy? That's the theme. God is. And when I first thought about it, I thought, this is crazy. Nobody's going to be interested in this stuff. But the phrase, those two words, really began to work on my mind. And the more I thought about it, the more I found those two words both haunting and engaging. God is. God is. And the first thought that came to mind is whoever says that is making an amazing statement. It's a declaration. It's a confession. Because what it means and what it says is that God exists. God is. And in our world right now, that is not a self-evident truth. The question that first popped into my mind after I reflected on that was, how many of you here tonight actually believe this? Good, but not great. That was not a resounding, wow, I really am into this. That was, maybe. But that's the challenge. To be able to stand up in today's world, in the various circles that you belong to, and you belong to many of them, in your own home, in your school, in your neighborhood, how many people can you pick out? Can you pick out 5 people without giving it a lot of thought who don't believe that God is important? Can you? So you got a job to do. So to make the declaration and to make the confession and to stand up and say, yes, God is, I believe that, that's going to require strength and courage and conviction. And what I found is that people don't get that when they have to stand up by themselves. And one of the things about Steubenville, as a lot of the other gatherings for young people that have been held over the last number of years, one of the conclusions that people come away with was, wasn't it marvelous to be with others who actually believe some of the stuff that I believe in? That's one of the reasons for coming to Steubenville and bringing others there. But the job of saying God is challenging because there are those around you who say that God is not. That God is not real. I found myself thinking when I was a student at university in the 60s, can't remember the exact date now, but Time magazine produced a very famous edition of their magazine. And I'm sure if you go check it out in a library or if you Google it, you'll probably find it. And the front page of Time magazine said, God is dead. That made one hell of an impact on all of us who were students. Isn't it interesting that about 2 weeks ago, or whenever it was, the same Time magazine picks out as the man of the year, Pope Francis. Now, that applause had more stuff to it. The same Time magazine tells us that here, this man, this 78-year-old guy, he's even older than I am, is the most influential person in the world right now. Now, I don't know a whole lot about tweeting and all that kind of stuff, but apparently he is one of the most, if not the most, followed person in the world. And why? Because he is saying in his own way, through his own example, God is real. Now, what do you think about that short two-word phrase, God is? The first thing is it's a statement, but it's also 2 words that call for completion. God is, you want to say something else? Well, if you're St. John the Evangelist, and if you've been going to church this week, you've been hearing him saying, God is love. And we've been reflecting on that for our spiritual needs of life. There are others who are trying to convince you of other lessons about God. Now, I don't know if Sigmund Freud is still popular at universities. He was when I was there. And he had something to say about God. He said, God is an illusion. Well, there's some contemporary scientists who are trying to tell you the same thing. Again, What do you think? Because each one of us needs to conclude that statement. And how you conclude it will depend on what you have inside you. We've been talking in this diocese for the last little while, and we've been talking about the importance of encountering Jesus Christ personally, because that makes a big change in people. It transforms you. Our two hosts spoke about their personal encounter with Jesus. George talked about it, and it happened to him at Steubenville, what'd you say, 7 years, 8 years ago? 8.5 years ago. And he's been hanging around and doing all kinds of weird stuff ever since. But he was blessed, though. Last summer when he went off to World Youth Day in Brazil, he got to sing and play some guitar and whatever for Pope Francis. Now, not a lot of people from Halifax did that. Personally encountering Jesus Christ allows you to put a face on God. Because Jesus Christ is the human face of God. And so we can conclude the statement, God is Jesus Christ. And so when we see Jesus Christ and we learn from him, we see God in action and we learn what love means. Not just easy love, but real hard love. Because in the end, what makes the difference is the supreme sacrifice. That's why we're Christians and we follow him. So, God is for you. God is what? I think that's what we're inviting you and your friends to come to Steubenville to discover. To discover that God can be for each and every one of you and every one of us, he can be your life. Or to quote from the prophet Isaiah, from which the words God is are taken. Isaiah says, surely God is my salvation. I will trust and will not be afraid, for the Lord God is my strength and my might, and he has become my salvation. That's what we would like you and your friends and your family and anybody that you can twist their arm to come to Steubenville to discover that God is your life and your salvation. Amen.